we have been discussing the 5 vrittis, sensations: Praman, Viparya, Vikalpa, Nidra and Smriti. In the last 2 videos, we took up the first vritti called Pramana, direct sense perception.
Shri Dharmananda Guru Charana Kamalebhyo Namaha.
Presenting the Yogasutram of Maharishi Patanjali with the commentary of Maharishi Vyasa, translated and presented by Kuldip Dhiman.
Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopakarotam Pravaram Munina Patanjali Pranjaliranatosmi
In this video, we shall discuss the second vritti called viparyayo, erroneous perception or distorted perception, that is, to see things the way they are not. Patanjali talks about it in the 8th sutra of the Samadhipada. Viparyayo mithyājñānamatadrūpapratiṣṭham. Viparyayah mithyājñānamatadrūpapratiṣṭham. Viparya means wrong perception, distorted perception. Mithyājñānam, false knowledge. Because we perceive things wrongly, the knowledge that we gain by this kind of perception is mithyājñānam, false knowledge. Atadrūpa, something appearing to be what it's not. Pratisṭham, to ascertain, to establish. Viparyayo mithyājñānam atadrūpa pratiṣṭham. The word viparya is generally translated as nescience. The sutra says nescience is the knowledge of something the way that thing is not. In his commentary to this sutra, Vyasa wonders why it's called false perception or distorted perception, why it's not accepted as pramana or right knowledge, right cognition. Sir, kasman na pramanam? Why is viparya not considered as pramanam. Then Vyasa himself gives the answer, yataha pramanena badhyate, because a perception that gets falsified by right knowledge cannot be called right perception. Vyasa continues, bhutartha vishayatvat pramanasya tatra pramanena badhnam pramanasya drishtam. Because through right perception, falsification of wrong perception, erroneous perception is seen. Tadyatha dvichandra darshanam sadvishenaik chandra darshanena badhyata iti. Just as, owing to some eye defect, one might see two moons in the place of one. This false perception gets falsified through right perception after getting our eyes cured of the defect, and we begin to see one moon. Seyam panchaparva bhavatya vidya avidya smita raga dvesha bhiniveshah pancha klesha iti. Erroneous perception creates 5 kinds of afflictions: avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesha. Avidya is erroneous perception, asmita is the ego, raga is called attachment, dvesha is aversion, and abhinivesha means the fear of death. Vyasa is going to discuss these in detail in the 2nd chapter. So, we shall not discuss them in detail here. Vyasa continues, Eta eva swasangyabhistamo moho mahamohas tamisrondh tamisra iti. These 5 afflictions are also known as Tama, Moha, Mahamoha, Tamisra, and Andha Tamisra. Ete chitta mala prasange nabhidhasyante. These afflictions will be explained when we talk about chitta mala or mental afflictions. We shall now discuss viparyayo at length because it's the most difficult concept to understand and the most easy to misunderstand. The word viparyayo in this context means to mistake something for something else. That's why it's called erroneous perception. And according to Sankhya Yoga and Vedanta, erroneous perception is the root cause of our sufferings. Viparya may be false cognition, but it certainly creates sensations in our mind and becomes an obstacle in the path of yoga. So, we should be very careful and never be too sure of what we are perceiving. Viparyayo is also known as avidya, tama, mithyājñānam, adhyasa, khyati, vismarana, and more notoriously Maya. It's mistakenly believed that Adi Shankaracharya propounded the doctrine of Maya. Not only is this belief wrong, the way people understand the doctrine of Maya is also wrong and misleading. The Yogasutram was written at least 1,000 years before Adi Shankaracharya was born. When Patanjali uses the word viparyayo, he is using it in the same sense in which Adi Shankaracharya used the word adhyasa, khyati or maya. It's very important to understand the words viparyayo or maya because Patanjali, Adi Shankaracharya and other thinkers are not interested in all sorts of ignorance and myths. For example, owing to some psychological problem, someone might be seeing cats everywhere. This person is seeing things that are not there at all. He is just imagining them. His experience does not qualify as viparyayo in the yogic and Vedantic sense because there are no cats in this case. The person is just hallucinating them and taking them to be real. And because he is imagining them, only he is getting affected by them, not others. However, in low light, if we see a rope and take it to be a snake and get scared, we would call it viparyayo because we are perceiving rope as something that it's not. In the same manner, to identify ourselves with the mind-body complex and get affected by this association is called viparyayo. Sankhya Yoga and Vedanta are interested in only the kind of false knowledge that makes us think we are the mind-body complex alone, that we are individuals that are limited in size, shape, color, and capabilities. As a result, we feel we are not good enough. We try to make up for what we think we lack with external things such as money, comfort, and relationships. Perhaps the reason for the misunderstanding of the word viparya is the mistranslation and misunderstanding of statements such as Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahma is true and the world is a myth. The Sanskrit word mithya and the English word myth may sound similar, but mithya is used in text in a very technical sense. If we do not clearly understand the words satyam and mithya, we would be bound to get misled into believing that the external world does not exist at all. It must be remembered that these words have several meanings. Satyam is generally understood as truth, and mithya is understood as false or unreal. But these words are used in a technical and restricted sense in Sankhya Yoga and Vedanta. Let's take up Satyam first. Satyam in this context means that which never changes. It was the same in the past, is the same now, and will be the same in future. In Sankhya Yoga, it's technically called Purusha, and in Vedanta, it's called Brahma, Paramatma, Atma, Satyam, Chit, etc. In sharp contrast to Satyam is the phenomenal world, which is ever changing because of the three gunas: Sattva, Raja, and Tama. We have discussed the gunas earlier. The phenomenal world is called Prakriti or Pradhana in Sankhya and Maya, Jagat or Sansara in Vedanta. The individual living entities are called Atma in Sankhya and Jiva or Jivatma in Vedanta. Sometimes both systems use the terms of each other. So, anything that has a beginning and an end is mithya, unreal. However, it does not mean it is non-existent. In fact, a thing that never exists at all cannot affect us in any way. So, mithya doesn't mean a non-existent thing. It means it exists, but we are seeing it wrongly. Mithya is therefore a perceptual error when we mistake one thing for something else. The most famous example of mithya is to take a rope for a serpent. Most critics of Vedanta get mithya totally wrong. Vedanta never says that the world does not exist. It only says that it's not what it appears to be. Because we take the appearance to be a reality, we get affected by it in a good or a bad way. It all depends how we view the world. This is the miracle of Maya and our mind. The way we experience the world depends largely upon how we view it. Adi Shankaracharya uses the word anirvachaniya khyati for Maya, which means something about which we can neither make an affirmative statement nor a negative statement. For example, sometimes under certain lighting conditions, a seashell on a beach might look like silver. It looks so real that we get tempted to go towards it and pick it up. It's only after picking it up we realize that it's just a seashell. However, from a distance it looked exactly like silver. That's why we were tempted to pick it up. Now, what statement could we make about the silver that we saw in the shell? Was the silver there or not? In one sense, it was there because we were not only seeing it, but we even got tempted enough to pick it up. However, upon picking it up, we realized that it was only a shell. So, we realized that silver was not there. This is one of the most important characteristics of viparyayo, false knowledge, false perception, or erroneous perception. To qualify as viparyayo or maya, the thing perceived should look absolutely what we are seeing it as, and it should also affect us in some way or the other. Why do we intelligent people get fooled by Maya? We get fooled by Maya because although whatever we see around us is ever changing, there is an order behind all this change. It's this natural order that makes the world of Maya look solidly real. Everything in the universe follows certain unshakable laws. The sun rises every day. The planets and stars move in a regular path. Things always fall to the ground. All this order gives us an impression of solid reality. That's why it's so difficult to make people realize the unreality of all this seeming regularity. What is reality and what is unreality? When something is experienced by all, it's called reality. And when something is experienced by only one person, it's called an illusion or unreality. According to Vedanta, Maya fools us with its twin powers of Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti, veiling power and distorting power. Maya veils our true nature from us and makes us think we are limited beings. This is the reason it's very important to understand the vritti called viparyayo. In this video, we discussed viparyayo or erroneous perception, which is called Maya, Mithya, Adhyasa, etc. in Vedanta. In the next video, we shall discuss the vritti called Vikalpa, non-denotative cognition. Yogena chittasya padena vacha malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarotam pravaram munina Patanjali Pranjali Ranatosmi